4 million years after the nuclear wars, humanity's first mutation emerged from the radioactive aftermath, and children began to exhibit abilities that defied the very laws of physics. The USSR, fearful of these powers, isolated these gifted children on a remote island, molding them into the most unfeeling super soldiers, brainwashed to battle imaginary foes. Among these mutations was Issei, a repulsive and despised outcast, tormented for concealing his immense abilities. However, when a new student transferred in, the arrogant bully saw a potential victim and demanded he reveal his hidden power. Kiyoya, unfazed, threatened to sever the bully's arm. Shortly after, a striking pink-haired girl named Nana entered the class, announcing her mind-reading ability and humorously asking the boys to stop fantasizing about her. The only available seat was next to Issei, and after class, Nana approached him, inquiring if he was bullied for his appearance. Despite the cruel remarks from Mugo, who slammed Issei's face into the desk, Nana expressed her desire to be Issei's friend. This was the life he's always lived, because ever since he was a child, everyone avoided him for being a mutation, and even his own father wished that he didn't give life to a demon, so he swore that he would never use his powers ever again. But his father still sent him to the remote island, where everyone made fun of him for having no abilities. As he began heading home, Nana watched him from a distance and began following him around, telling him there was a spot she wanted to see with him. Next to the cliff, Nana wondered why he was hiding his powers, so he lied by saying that it was to remain safe, since there were rumors of the enemies of humanity infiltrating their island. But as he kept talking, a gust of wind rushed towards Nana, pushing her off the edge and ripping the rope beneath her. At the same time, Kiyoya was investigating the two of them, realizing something was off. After being saved, Nana thanked Issei for rescuing her, though he was unaware that this was all part of her plan. Back at his dorm, she urged him to become the class representative, believing he was unlike the others. However, he brusquely told her to stop talking about leadership, as it reminded him of his father. Puzzled, she questioned his hatred for his father, especially since his thoughts revealed admiration. Her insights made Issei feel violated, knowing she could understand him without a word, and he told her to leave him alone. That night, he wondered why his life changed so suddenly, as he had never touched or even talked to a girl before in his life. Just like all you losers watching the video right now. Just then, he heard knocking on his door and wondered why she was in the boys' dormitory. But she handed him back the watch he left in the cafeteria, and he realized that she spent all night looking for it, just to make him feel better. The following day, the duel for the class representative was about to begin, and the Ice Prince Saya was facing off against Mugo. As soon as the battle began, Saya was able to block his attack and leaped to launch ice spears towards him, scratching his face. However, Mugo decided to activate his fire talent, unleashing his ultimate flame attack, while Saya countered with his freezing storm. Despite Mugo's attack breaching Saya's defenses, Saya managed to freeze Mugo's foot to the ground in the final moment. As the crowd celebrated, Nana congratulated Issei on becoming the leader, but Kiyoya watched with keen eyes, noting her enthusiasm for another. Realizing she was just another fleeting hope, Mugo refused to accept defeat by someone he deemed talentless and launched his Giga Inferno at them. Just before the Inferno could incinerate Nana, Issei, remembering his life of constant fear and disregarding his cruel father's opinion, awakened his overpowered skill. Once the fire settled, he apologized for not thanking her the night before, and revealed that he had the ability to neutralize the other mutant's talents. Seeing his powers, she thought he was the strongest man alive, and everyone decided to make Issei their leader. As the sun was setting, he thanked Nana for bringing his powers out, since he was always afraid of his powers ending lives, but realized that he could be saving others instead. Just then, Nana asked him if his powers of neutralizing talents could be used to suppress her mind-reading ability, and wondered if touching her body was the way to make it happen. So she grabbed his hand and began tearing up, saying that it was the first time in her life that voices weren't screaming in her head. When he thought that her life must have also been difficult, he wondered if she was able to guess what he was thinking about right now, so she smiled, telling him that she can. Throughout these days, she was aware of his plight, recognizing his facade of reading without ever turning a page and deeming him kind due to the scratch on his neck from a cat. Additionally, the watch he wore revealed the nature of his bond with his father, for it surely came from someone who cared deeply for him. Yet, his neglect of the watch signaled a simmering resentment toward its giver, and she confirmed his animosity towards his father by goading him the previous night. At that moment, he grasped that she was among his adversaries, but she retorted that he was the true bane of humanity, imploring him to vanish from existence as she uncovered that he had slain over 1 million souls. The following day, she used the phone given to her by the agency, which contained the number of murders each of these mutated children committed, and instructed her to kill all of them. While they were training, Muga wondered why Issei disappeared as soon as he became a leader, but Nana pretended as if she had no idea what happened. Just then, a moron called Yohi nearly fell into the lake and screamed that he didn't know how to swim, so Saya descended to freeze the entire pond, and Nana thought it was disgusting how children like him had the power to destroy the world, and she became determined to kill all of them. As they partook in their midday meal, Muga commenced his torment of another unfortunate soul. Just as his fist was about to connect, time twisted around them. He inexplicably found himself on the floor, with Yohi reminding him of his disdain for disturbances during his mealtime. Witnessing Yohi's power, Saya unveiled that he possessed the ability to halt time itself. Meanwhile, Nana observed something peculiar about the victim's tie. Choosing to sit with him, she began to choke on her food. He reminded her of his aversion to noise, but she retorted that his own chewing was louder than hers. She then feigned a desire for his pickle, deliberately knocking over his cup of water. Instantly, time warped again, and the cup returned to its original place. As he began breathing heavily, he revealed that this was his ability to freeze time, but she knew he was lying, and asked him what his power really was. So realizing she could read his mind anyway, he revealed that he had the ability to change the past. But she had already known that, since he wouldn't have gone out of his way to clean every single water droplet, and knew that he wouldn't have fixed his classmate's tie after he was grabbed. However, he was the worst mutation for her to deal with, and Kyoya appeared in that moment, asking him to go back in time to find out what happened to Eyes. This was her greatest fear had come true, but she wondered what he meant by disappearance, since she thought Eyes was just sick. However, Kyoya thought he definitely wasn't sick, since their rooms were next to each other, and he didn't even respond when he knocked on his door. Simultaneously, he recalled seeing him depart from school with Nana shortly before his disappearance. He confronted her, inquiring where they had gone and what they had been doing. As she scrambled for an escape, she knew her tale would unravel, particularly if he had any investigative prowess. She attempted to divert his attention by asking why he was gripping her hair. He replied that he was compelled to grasp at loose ends. Nana pondered whether he had just insinuated she was loose, but tried to deflect suspicion from herself, speculating that the enemies of humanity might have been responsible for his demise. She then glanced towards Kyoya, convinced that it was impossible for him to be one of them. After all, she could read people's minds, and wondered why he cared about Eyes, even though he completely distanced himself from everyone else. But Kyoya smiled at them before leaving. Yohei thought it was strange how he knew they were going to be here, and said they should investigate if he was the one who killed Eyes. Although she pretended to be happy, she knew the truth would be uncovered soon. In front of the boys' dorm, Yohei went back in time and returned a few seconds later, saying that he couldn't see Eyes returning back home before collapsing onto the ground. He revealed that the limitation of his talent was how weak it made him, but Nana wondered how she would kill him, since he could just return to the past and kill her instead. So she asked him how far he could go back in time, and when he said that 24 hours was his limit, she thought something else was off, because he could have kept following eyes until he discovered what happened to him. As he ventured deeper into the echoes of time, Nana sensed that he was nearing the revelation of the hidden truth, yet he perceived her gift of mind reading as a formidable obstacle, for she could detect his every incursion into the past. Upon hearing his concerns, she grasped that being noticed catapulted him back to the present. Despite his admission of her correctness, she remained clueless about how to thwart him before he unveiled the secrets she guarded. She attempted to dissuade him by suggesting they wait until the morrow, but he questioned her motives, wondering why she hindered his quest to uncover the fate of her friend. Her silence betrayed her, prompting him to ask if she was the one who had slain Eyes. When they reached the precipice and he once again traversed the streams of time, she understood that her sole recourse was to place her faith in herself. After coming back, he realized they were truly close friends for the way they held hands, so she smiled at him, but realized that her memories were just overwritten. Right before she would kill Eyes, she was extremely attentive to her surroundings and noticed Yohei at that moment, so she waited to make sure he was gone before pushing Eyes off. Thinking she was innocent, Yohei apologized for doubting her and decided to call it a day. That night, Nana was in the shed looking for shovels before knocking on Yohei's door in the middle of the night. As they ran through the forest, he wondered why she hid the truth, but she claimed that she didn't trust him yet, so she pointed to where Eyes was attacked. She revealed that after holding hands, they began getting chased by a monster to this part of the woods, where they ate Eyes, leaving nothing behind. She was too scared to do anything, but thought that Yohei might be able to save him, since this was where he was eaten. Thus, he resolved to alter the past, but upon venturing back, he vanished without a trace. Once assured of her safety, she unearthed the ground, revealing the frozen pond beneath. The night before, the lake had not yet iced over, and knowing his inability to swim coupled with the exhaustion from time travel, she was certain he would drown immediately. Moreover, with Sia freezing the lake by dawn, his body would remain concealed. This meticulous strategy ensured she remained elusive to Kyoya's investigations. That very night, Kyoya stood once more at the cliff where Eyes had perished and plunged into the ocean below. The next morning, as Mugo and Sia puzzled over Yohei's mysterious disappearance, Nana understood they would soon suspect the presence of a serial killer among them. Just then, Sia tried cornering Nana to use his best Discord pickup line, asking her if she's a rope, because he'd love to hang with her. However, Nana tried telling him that his girlfriend may not be happy about it, and when Sia wondered how she found out they were dating, she began reminding him that she could read their minds. But Kyoya appeared at that moment, saying that it was obvious that they shared an umbrella, since they were both wet on only one side. Realizing he was trying to ruin her plans, along with seeing the seaweed on his head, Nana decided to ask him if he would eat lunch with her. However, she wouldn't quit, and continued tailing him throughout the entire day. After he returned to the dormitory, Nana decided to visit his shack, and discovered that he was actually caring for a stray cat. She thought he must be smarter than he looks, so she decided to meet him again, making another attempt to get to know him. However, this time, Kyoya implored her to be his ally, igniting her suspicion. Upon entering his chamber, she discerned his true nature, akin to a wretched, unwashed sentinel of a forlorn forum, dwelling in a room more vile than the foulest depths. As they commenced their gaming, Kyoya confessed his desire to forge new alliances and sought her counsel on how to bond with others. After all, she had swiftly befriended Issei and Yohei upon arriving on the island. Despite advising him to abandon his menacing demeanor, Nana was puzzled by his hidden talents. As she pondered if he was probing into Issei's vanishing, Kyoya revealed that his sister had also vanished after being exiled to the island, and he hoped that unmasking Issei's slayer would lead him to her. That evening, as Nana was about to leave, Kyoya showed her Issei's watch and asked if she'd ever seen it. Before Nana could think of something to make up, Kyoya suggested they head off to the cliff. After arriving, he began wondering if she hung out with Issei on the night he went missing. He already figured out that Issei must have owned the watch, having found it at the bottom of the cliff, and thought he must have thrown it with his last bit of power so someone could find it. Afraid she would get exposed, Nana began saying that he must have decided to hug the ground. But Kyoya wasn't buying her disgusting lie, and began saying that he could have been pushed off the edge. When Nana suggested that enemies of humanity might have killed him, Kyoya found it illogical and pondered why monsters would push him off a cliff instead of devouring him. Hearing this, Nana realized Kyoya was far more astute than the two simpletons she had already dispatched. Kyoya then mentioned his intention to report Issei's death to the ineffectual school authorities. Fearful of the truth emerging, Nana warned him that such news would incite panic among the students. But seeing that Kyoya's resolve was firm, she decided to inquire about his talent, planning to eliminate him once she uncovered it. However, Kyoya wouldn't play into her hands and told her to read it in his mind if she was really a psychic. That night in Nana's room, as she made her report to the committee, she began remembering her earlier request to them. Before heading for the island, she had asked that they reveal all the teenagers' abilities, saying that it would help her to create a better plan in eliminating them. However, the committee told her that the talented abilities often evolve when they hit puberty, and that they could awaken new powers regardless of their original data. As Nana realized that the talented abilities often have a limit, she thought she must figure out the limit to Kyoya's own ability. The following day, after explaining to the teacher that Issei may be dead, Kyoya decided to reveal his broken watch. As the teacher stood dumbfounded by the news, Nana realized the school's faculty were utterly worthless, clueless to the committee's true motives. As they prepared to depart, Nana mentioned that Issei's cat was missing and must be starving, intending to lure Kyoya back to the shack. While she hurried off, he pondered why she couldn't even feign concern for Issei's disappearance. As the sun set, Kyoya resolved to return to the shack, questioning whether humanity's enemies even existed. Yet Nana believed no one knew the island's secret. The talented thought they were brought to this island to battle humanity's foes, never suspecting a talentless one among them was the true killer, granting her an overwhelming advantage. However, Kyoya thought a human was definitely responsible for the disappearances, but if its goal was to kill them, then he was convinced that he had the overwhelming advantage. After arriving inside, he realized that the cat was nowhere in sight, but decided to warm up its milk anyway. At the same time, Nana was glad that her plans were working out perfectly, having figured out that Kyoya has no sense of smell, since his room always smelled like an anime convention and he needed to put expiration dates on his vegetables instead of smelling them. So as he ignited the stove, it exploded from a gas leak. However, while she was waiting to discover if his talent would be revealed, she noticed he was burned up and began thinking he was finally dead. Pretending to call for help, she tried running off, but he caught her ankle and caused her to fall. He began wondering why she was the first one on the scene, and wondered how she knew to scream his name out, even though his entire body was burned beyond recognition, but she noticed that his wound was already healing. He apologized for suspecting her, since he thought his dear friend would never try to kill him, but wondered why her face looked like she was seeing a ghost. Despite her mind-reading abilities, she was somehow astonished to learn he was immortal. Seizing the moment of their friendship, he chose to unveil another secret. Born without the sense of smell, he assured her this wasn't the weakness of his talent. However, knowing every talent comes at a price, he promised to project his true weakness to the forefront of his mind, challenging her to read it if she truly could. Pretending to have read his mind, she vowed to protect his secret. Yet, as he turned to leave, she realized she must uncover his weakness at any cost. The next day at school, Mugo began accusing Kyoya of intentionally blowing up the shack, but Kyoya told him that a killer tried to eliminate him, the same one who killed Aiz and Yohi. Saya thought his words made sense, but began saying that a new leader must be chosen, seeing as Aiz was nowhere to be found. Realizing her opportunity, Nana thought she could easily divert Kyoya's attention away from her if she manages to become the leader. Just then, two ugly losers began saying that they found a love letter inside Mishiru's locker, but as one of them began reading it, Nana thought they were the most useless lowlives she's ever seen, since they had concealed the word idiot in the letter. Just then, Michiru noticed her wound and decided to lick her bone. At that moment, Nana realized her wound had healed, yet the other girls warned her to use her power sparingly, as it consumed her lifespan. However, upon reviewing the data, she discovered Michiru had killed over 150,000 civilians, prompting her to consider ending Michiru's life, just as she had with others before. Once outside, Nana found Kuya stalking her, though he chose to leave. Later, as Michiru awaited her secret admirer, Nana appeared, revealing the admirer never existed, and the worthless, unattractive girls had fabricated the letter to mock her. With their ruse exposed, the worthless girls fled. That night, Nana felt triumphant, having uncovered Michiru's full ability, realizing she could only heal with her tongue. She planned to stab Michiru in the back, confident her tongue would be powerless to heal such a wound. However, as she tried leaving for her room, she discovered that Kuya was waiting outside. But when she asked him why a Discord mod was stalking and lurking outside her room, Kuya told her that he's trying to protect her from the killer. However, she knew he was trying to restrain her from leaving, to see if the killings disappeared, so she returned into her room immediately. A few minutes later, Kuya realized she had cranked up the music, but as he decided to look through her window, he spotted her running into the other dormitory. Before long, she entered Michiru's room and screamed that an enemy of humanity was standing at the window. At the same time, Kuya heard Michiru scream and began running towards her room, thinking that Nana must have found another victim to kill. However, when he entered the room, he found Nana injured, with Michiru trying to lick her wound. When he wondered how she got injured, the ugly, disgusting liar began saying that she overheard a killer's thoughts and decided to save Michiru from getting isekai. With Kuya unwilling to buy into her useless lies, he began wondering why no one saw the killer and why she didn't ask him for help knowing he's an immortal. However, Nana felt triumphant at the success of her plan, positioning herself as yet another supposed victim of the killer's assaults. She believed this cunning ruse would keep her above suspicion, but Kuya found her stories inconsistent. The next day, he demanded a detailed account of events, but she repeated the same fabrications, making him suspect her stories were false. He pondered her leap from the window, suspecting she intentionally wounded herself in Michiru's room, knowing Michiru could heal injuries. Just then, the other students arrived, and Mugo and Saya resumed their bickering over who should lead the class. Desperate to sway them, Nana tearfully admitted guilt over Issei's death, lamenting that she hadn't used her psychic ability to locate the enemy sooner. Moved by her tears, Michiru proposed Nana as their new leader, crediting her with saving her life. Convinced by Michiru's praise, the rest agreed, believing her talent would help them identify humanity's enemies before they could strike. Yet, Kuya noticed the stitches on her back and found them suspicious. After school, Nana told Michiru to make a record of everyone's talent, saying that she needs it as an emergency. As the moronic girl believed her crap, she decided to carry on the task. Just then, Kuya appeared before her and began to apologize for suspecting her. But as he was about to leave, he began wondering why a monster would stab her with a sharp needle-like weapon, especially since they were believed to have claws. However, he wished her luck, and Nana realized that he was just pretending to believe her. So at night, she decided to prepare poison needles, hoping to annihilate everyone at the same time. But when she arrived at the dormitory, a new student showed up, asking to speak with her. His name was Hatadera, and he decided to tell her that his talent was to see the future. So he revealed a photograph and began asking why she intended to kill him. He had taken the snap from the future, but with Nana too stunned to answer, he suggested they have dinner together. Soon, he began kicking the cafeteria door relentlessly, stopping only when they were finally granted entry. After placing an order, he boasted about his psychic photographs always coming true and, showing another photo, predicted she would be doused in spaghetti. Just then, the waitress arrived with Nana's meal, but she rejected it, hoping to alter her fate. As the waitress turned to leave, she slipped, and the spaghetti still splattered across Nana's hapless face. Triumphant, Hatadera declared she couldn't alter destiny and questioned her motive for wanting him gone. With Nana remaining silent, He unveiled another photograph depicting Issei's fall from the cliff, claiming his power emerged the day she joined their school, and demanded to know why she killed him. In that instant, Nana understood that he had no intention of exposing her truth, but sought to bend her to his will. So as she told him that she's willing to obey his commands, the ugly loser asked her to become his girlfriend since he was lonely his entire life. Inside his dormitory, he decided to make her his private massager and commanded her to massage every inch of his body. So, to discover the limits of his ability, she began wondering if he's ever managed to change the outcome of his premonitions. But he told her that it was completely impossible. Luckily, he wasn't dead in the photograph, and as he thought it was forecasted for 10 p.m. the following night, he told her that every attempt to kill him would definitely fail. With his premonition being a definite assurance of the future, Hatodera was certain that he would stay alive until it came true. At the same time, Nana began wondering if she could end his life right here, but was afraid that his visions could really be set in stone. However, when she tried to leave, Hatodera commanded her to return, saying that she's now his girl and that they must begin developing a plot like every other couple. But as he passed out, Nana noticed his camera and decided to stay up all through the night, even as he slept. Eventually, she noticed new photographs emerging, and as she examined them, Nana discovered they were snapshots of his dreams. She realized he had no control over which parts of the future he saw. This led her to believe she had the upper hand, as he couldn't predict every event. However, one photo she couldn't let anyone see, so she took a fake one to replace it, but knew she had to destroy the others before they were found. In the morning, the loser awoke and revealed he always had 5 premonitions each night, but found only 4 photographs beside his pillow. He suspected she had hidden the last one and decided to search her clothes. When he found it, he saw it was an image of Nana's execution and was elated at the prospect of killing her. He then instructed her to meet him in the shed at night, hoping to recreate the scene. However, after he left, Nana decided to revert his watch, hoping to make him lose sense of time. That night, she arrived first at the shed, but her needles flew under a table. As the ugly loser entered, he grew confident that he would eliminate Nana. So as she tried to strangle him, he managed to remove the rope and punched her to the floor. Looking to end her, he revealed that he had already reset his watch, and that she couldn't possibly kill him since his newest premonition forecast that he would end her life at 10 p.m. So with Nana subdued, the moron began thinking it was over. But as he tried feeling her plot, she caught his hand, leaving him paralyzed at that instant. She had managed to pierce him with her poisonous needle, but told him that his photographs truly predicted the future after all. When Hatodera began wondering how it all went wrong, Nana told him that the last photograph was a fake and that she intentionally lured him here, knowing already that he would let down his guard and grow confident of overcoming her. At that moment, she decided to reveal the actual photograph, but this turned out to be the worst part of her entire plan, as Kyoya and Michiru entered simultaneously. As they began to question what happened, Nana screamed at Michiru to save Hatodera, claiming he had fallen by accident. However, Kyoya wasn't convinced by her fake tears and revealed a photograph they had found in Hatodera's room. Demanding to know why she was staying with him, Nana claimed Hatodera had taken photos of her in the bathtub and blackmailed her into being his girlfriend. Kyoya wondered if she had tried to kill him to regain her freedom. Nana argued it couldn't be her, as his body had no external wounds, and mentioned she thought she saw the enemies of humanity. When Kyoya questioned how these enemies could kill without causing physical harm, Michiru remembered they could cast deadly curses. Even so, Kyoya believed these enemies had broken abilities, but Nana smiled, knowing they could time travel, live immortally, and predict the future. As she began to leave, Kyoya found her behavior suspicious, but Nana's only desire was to retrieve the remaining photographs from Hatodera's room. Before long, she started looking around the room, glad that none of the photographs had been found, but as Kyoya appeared behind her, she managed to slip them into her bag. When he asked why she returned to this room, she told him that she was gathering all her stuff, but he began wondering why she was still alive. when the psychic photograph already forecasted her death. On top of that, he thought it looked like a fake photo, since the rope was double wrapped. In cases of murder, the rope is wrapped around once, since the victim is trying to escape as the killer is trying to wrap it, making it extremely difficult to double wrap the rope. As he handed it back to her, he began wondering why she took a photo of herself, but realized that she wanted Hatodera to let his guard down once he began thinking that fate was on his side. After she departed, he felt an ominous tension between them, regretting that he hadn't arrived earlier to scour the chamber for hints. In Nana's quarters, she reviewed the photographs anew and noted one was missing, surmising it must be with Hatodera. Meanwhile, Michiru endeavored to mend him with her gift, but recognizing that Hatodera's spirit had already traversed into nirvana, she recalled that her powers could never resurrect the dead. The photograph depicted Ice's tragic plummet from the cliff, but before her muddled mind could piece it together, Nana appeared, curious about what she held. With the fool too slow to grasp the truth, she inquired about the photo, prompting Nana to take it, remarking that it seemed Hatodera never possessed the ability to foresee the future. Instead, she said that every photo he took was merely an image of his dreams, and asked her to keep what she saw a secret between both of them. Realizing it meant they were going to be close friends, Michiru promised she would. A few days later, as all the students gathered for Hatodera's funeral, Kyoya began asking why the school officials weren't trying to investigate his death, but even the teacher had no idea. As Kyoya decided to take charge, he began saying that Hatodera must have been murdered. But Nana was desperate to protect her secrets and decided to stop him, saying that he would cause everyone to panic. But he told her that he must perform an autopsy on the dead body. Hoping to dissuade him, the psycho asked to talk with him outside, as she began wondering why he wouldn't accept that Hatodera died from an enemy of humanity. Kyoya thought it was too coincidental for him to die while assaulting her, especially since she was also somehow nearby when his shed exploded. However, she sought to shift the blame away from herself by questioning why a murderer would attempt suicide if he were immortal. He pondered her words and realized she had a point. Given her mind-reading abilities, he would naturally be her last target. Unwittingly, he had fallen into her snare, as she leveraged the rule that only the gifted were permitted on this isle. Resolute, he returned to the funeral home, intent on performing the autopsy. Yet as Kyoya opened the coffin, the body stirred, and a child stepped forward. This boy, Shinji, announced his ability to compel the dead to reveal the truth of their demise. With his necromantic power, he could even reanimate the dead. These revelations led the others to wonder if this was some macabre spectacle. But then, a seemingly insignificant girl appeared, assuring them that Shinji was just an ordinary boy. However, Shinji began saying that he could see through Hatodera's eyes if he wishes, and could even draw out the memories of his final moments. With a final act of desperation, Nana began screaming that Hatodera's soul would be violated, and that she could hear him screaming from hell. The thought made all the students afraid, and as Kyoya realized they would all start seeing him as the villain, he decided to call it off. Right then, Shinji made him return into the coffin, but Nana already recognized him as her next target. So, when they were in class, the following morning, she decided to ask the girl where Shinji stayed during the day. As Yuka began saying that he was always inside his room, Nana realized they were dating and thought that she needed to kill both of them off at the same time. So that evening, she started spying on them from behind a tree. But when Kyoya appeared before her and asked her what she was doing, she began saying that she was just going for a late-night walk. Stop the cab. With Kyoya already knowing her ugly-ass face was lying to him, he began wondering if Shinji was her new target, but the pair noticed their presence at that moment. As Shinji began his departure, Kyoya's keen eyes caught sight of his bandaged arm, sparking curiosity about the cause of the burn. Yuki, seizing the moment, revealed that Shinji had been ensnared by flames while valiantly attempting to save a group of people, and he only lived because she had rescued him. The following day, Nana feigned illness, seeking refuge in the infirmary, where Michiru fussed over her, thinking she required special care. Once Michiru left, Nana realized it was the perfect moment to sneak out through the window to the boys' dormitory and return unnoticed, with Kyoya patrolling the island nightly. Seizing the opportunity, she hurried off, her mind fixed on Shinji's horrifying record of over 300. Reaching his quarters, she drove her needle into him, declaring that Yuka would soon join him in the afterlife. As she hastened back to the infirmary, a cat trapped in the gutter caught her eye. At the same time, Kyoya and Michiru had arrived at the infirmary. But as he drew the curtain, they realized that Nana wasn't inside. Just then, she started banging on the windows, saying that she found a stray cat. So, after they arrived at the spot, she told Yuka to lift the grate with her superhuman strength, hoping to figure out the limits of her power. However, Yuka told her that cats always trigger her allergy, making it impossible to use her powers. That night, while she was sleeping, Nana successfully sneaked into her room and was ready to end her just like she killed Shinji. However, a shadow knocked her to the ground and she realized that she screwed herself over. Through his strong grip, she realized that Shinji was still alive and that while he possesses the superhuman strength, Yuka was actually the necromancer. In that fateful moment, Nana realized the terrible truth. Shinji had perished long ago, his lifeless form animated all this time by Yuka's dark power. As Yuka discovered the needle, she began to unveil the true story, revealing that Shinji had died in the fire, but she, unable to bear life without him, vowed never to let him die. When Shinji suggested they dispose of Nana immediately, Yuka hesitated, contemplating mercy, but Nana discerned Yuka's split personality and deemed her even more malevolent. Just then, Shinji found the rest of Nana's needles, prompting Yuka to threaten to expose her secrets to the entire class. In that moment, Nana decided to confess, declaring that, despite her own heinous acts, at least she didn't desecrate the dead. Yuka, knowing the truth, heard Nana assert that the others would believe her innocence once she claimed Yuka captured her during a night walk. When Yuka tried to counter, saying Shinji had witnessed the attack, Nana declared she would reveal that Shinji was a corpse, animated by Yuka's twisted sorcery. With Yuka growing reluctant to reveal the truth, Nana suggested they keep each other's secrets, and in addition, promised to reveal Shinji's thoughts. Tempted by this offer, Yuka decided to set her free, but Nana realized she had successfully outsmarted her. As she pretended to read Shinji's thoughts, she told her that Shinji's soul wanted to kill Nana, but ran away immediately. As Shinji thought her words made sense, he began suggesting that they kill her, as Yuka could easily animate her body once she was dead, and could use her powers to read his soul whenever she wants. Thinking it was the best plan in the world, Yuka agreed that they would hunt her down immediately. However, Nana was glad that she managed to lure her outside, but as Shinji noticed her presence, she began running off. By the time Yuka and Shinji arrived in the forest, Nana began asking Yuka if she would animate Shinji's body with her ugly necklace. So Yuka decided to reveal that she could only animate a body when she acquired a piece of their property. As Yuka cast her light into the underbrush, she realized Nana was not there. Suddenly, Nana sprang from the shadows to snatch the necklace, but Shinji materialized to strike her down. Nana pushed Yuka aside and fled into the night. She pondered how to retrieve the necklace and noticed she was being pursued. Curious how Yuka could track her in the dark, a zombie then emerged, trying to seize her, but she eluded its grasp. More undead soon appeared, and Yuka revealed she had animated the island's buried bodies. Nana narrowly escaped them, but upon spotting another zombie, she sprinted away. She reached a cottage and found its door could only be locked from outside. Testing Yuka's weakness, she began to hammer the door, seeking to trap herself within. As Yuka and her undead minions approached, Nana dashed inside. Yet, as Yuka suspected a trap to separate her from Shinji, she animated the corpses within, and they rose behind Nana at that moment. Luckily, the sun began to rise, and as all the zombies passed out, Nana realized that Yuka's weakness was being able to only animate the dead bodies at night. Looking to trap her inside, Yuka decided to lock the door, saying that She would return at sunset, but Nana nearly stabbed her face. At class, Kyoya decided to ask her if she spotted Nana, but Yuka told him that she didn't trap her inside a cottage or anything like that. At the same time, Nana had dressed up one of the zombies to look like her, and when the night arrived, Yuka stood in front of the cottage with her zombie squad. But when she opened the door, they realized that they couldn't find Nana anywhere until Yuka found her body lying dead on the floor. But as she picked up her head, she realized that she had tricked them and screamed at her zombies to search around the forest, but they found no traces of her. When it was morning, Yuka began returning with her corpse. But as she arrived at the dormitory, Nana appeared behind her and knocked her to the ground. As she pulled out a paper from her pocket, she revealed that her necklace wasn't the thing she used to animate Shinji, since she was trying to protect her pocket instead of her necklace the night before. So she told Yuka to follow her, hoping to draw no one's attention. After reaching the cliff, Yuka pondered whether she had a unique talent for escaping the cottage. Nana revealed she had simply walked out the front door. She had feigned sealing herself inside before Yuka's arrival, but had unscrewed the hinge and concealed it with tape, making Yuka believe she was trapped. When Yuka questioned her motives, Nana explained she wanted to test if Yuka could animate her corpse even during the day. She had meticulously planned her moves and intended to strike when Yuka's zombies were inactive. Seeing her defeat, Yuka begged for mercy and asked for Shinji's piece back. Nana demanded her needles first, and Yuka complied, only to realize Nana had already discarded the paper into the water. This drove Yuka mad, while Nana questioned the truth of Yuka's story. Yuka claimed to have no memories of Shinji, but Nana recognized the falsehood, wondering why Yuka had only a torn piece of paper as Shinji's relic instead of something significant. At that moment, Yuka grew afraid that her secret was getting exposed, so she confessed that she actually started the fire to ruin Shinji's date with his true lover. The real Shinji had hated her, but she was bent on having him and had decided to animate him after causing his death. As she kept on talking, Nana used her needle to end her miserable life, but once she was gone, she wondered why she hung onto the piece of paper rather than throwing it out right away. After all, Yuka had killed over 500,000 people, and Nana wondered if some part of her wanted to spare Yuka, throwing away the paper. So without wasting any time, she pushed her body into the water and noticed that Shinji's body was now starting to rot. After returning to the forest, Nana began wondering if she should have spared Yuka's life after all, and used her powers to unravel how the other corpses were killed. However, as she decided to forget about the corpses and focus on her mission, she eventually came across Habu in the bushes, but the useless bitch nearly wet herself. When Nana inquired about Habu's presence among the foliage, Habu confessed she was seeking serpents, for their venom aided in retaining the poisonous fluids within her body. Alone, and pondering her next move, Nana inquired about her ghastly companion. Habu divulged their separation and shared their final exchange. This revelation was all Nana required. Crafting a cunning plan, she informed Habu that her partner awaited reconciliation within the bushes. As Habu turned to verify, Nana struck, swiftly piercing her with a needle. Paralyzed, Habu was coerced into revealing her phone password with the promise of an antidote. Believing Nana's vile deception, Habu screamed her password. Yet, upon seeing Nana's empty hand, Habu understood too late there was no antidote. With her soul departing, Nana dragged her lifeless body to the other zombies, scheming to frame her as the new murder suspect. A few minutes later, she sneaked into Kaori's room and successfully replaced her contact lenses. However, when she tried to open the window, she discovered that it was stuck and could only be opened on one side, but thought her plans would work out anyway. With her preparations all set, she decided to visit the school. But when Kyoya began asking if she came across Yuka and Shinji, she told him that they were dead and began an Oscar-winning performance to convince him that she's innocent. Before long, she decided to lead the boys into the forest, revealing that Yuka was actually the necromancer and that she killed Shinji years ago to make him her boyfriend. So when they arrived at the cliff and saw Shinji's rotten corpse, she told them that she had convinced Yuka that what she was doing was wrong. But Yuka decided to isekai herself by hugging the ocean. Right then, She asked Mugo to burn up the bodies, saying that their souls were screaming in her mind. With everyone creeped out at the thought, Mugo decided to burn the bodies, but Kyoya thought that Nana was suspicious for being at the scene of the crime once again. However, Nana's schemes were far from over. She led the group to the other zombies, suggesting Mugo burn them before their stench spread across the island. Back at the dormitory, Saya proposed warning the others about the killer, but the deceitful, unattractive liar claimed it would only worsen the situation. Kyoya, unconvinced by her tale, demanded to know her whereabouts during each murder and why she was lurking when everyone else was in class. Just then, a girl's scream echoed through the dormitory. They rushed in to find another girl dead. Kyoya deduced she had been killed hours earlier. He ordered the boys to fetch the survival kit and commanded Nana to remain within sight, threatening to sever her hands at the slightest movement. Before long, he began examining the body and soon discovered that Kaori was trying to wear her contact lenses before she died. As he thought it was suspicious, he decided to drink Kaori's white liquid, and at that moment, he began choking on the poison and said it was extremely hot, so Nana opened up the window immediately. However, as he managed to survive, she realized that his body was also immune to poison, but it did make him suffer. At the same time, Kyoya began revealing that Kaori's lens case was poisoned, and said that the killer must have set her up. So, with Nana having skipped classes, he thought it makes perfect sense that she sneaked into the room before Kaori returned. Just then, he tried opening up the window, but as he discovered it was stuck, Michiru began saying that Nana was an angel and wouldn't ever do something so evil. But as they began to leave, Nana decided to ask what Habu's superpower was, seeing as she was closest to the dead girl. When Michiru unveiled her talent for producing poisonous body fluids, Kyoya began to suspect her involvement and proposed they find her immediately. Upon their return a few hours later, they discovered Habu was missing. To concoct another dramatic tale, Nana claimed to have heard monstrous thoughts emanating from the forest, suggesting Habu was attacked by humanity's enemy. However, Kyoya grew weary of her deceit and asserted that the killer was undoubtedly human. As he resolved to search the room once more, he inquired if Nana was friends with Kaori. When the deceitful fool denied their friendship, she inadvertently revealed her own lies. Kyoya had purposely drank from the lens case, but when Nana opened the correct window, he realized she had been there before, marking her as a suspect. When he began saying that Nana must have visited the room earlier on, the moronic ugly kid started saying that Nana was certainly innocent, and that she found Kaori's cell phone, which revealed that Habu was the killer. Michiru continued by saying that Habu sent a final text while they were searching around the island, but Kyoya thought that Nana must have sent the text while they were distracted. All her cooked-up stories wouldn't persuade him into believing she was innocent, so he told Michiru to stay away from her immediately, saying that she's the actual killer. At that moment, the others arrived, and as Kyoya thought he got a perfect audience, he decided to reveal everything that happened and said that she must have killed Habu before arriving at school to pretend that she's innocent. He had kept his eyes on her the whole time and figured she suggested they burn up the bodies just so they wouldn't discover that Habu was dead already. Furthermore, she had stolen Habu's phone, leading Kyoya to suspect that she had secretly sent the text to lure Kaori into wearing the lens. Desperate to save herself, Nana insisted she couldn't have sent any texts. But Kyoya, finding her lies increasingly futile, countered that she could have easily read Habu's thoughts and stolen her phone password. At that moment, Nana knew she was in deep trouble. Drawing closer, Kyoya began to wonder if she still possessed Habu's cell phone, having noticed she was hiding something in her clothes. When he decided to search her pockets, he found them empty. Michiru, believing in Nana's innocence, claimed she wasn't the killer. Unbeknownst to everyone, Nana had actually left the phone with a zombie, hoping its melting body would tap the send button, which it did, just as she planned. Michiru then demanded Kyoya apologize, saying his accusations had traumatized her. Ashamed, Kyoya apologized for suspecting her. Seizing the opportunity, Nana declared that Habu's soul was calling for peace and urged them to never suspect each other again. Somehow, the brain-dead morons accepted every word she said, and she told them to make a report of everything that happens. To gain their trust forever, she decided to shake Kyoya's hand, but he knew that something was definitely wrong with her. That night, as she pretended to guard the dormitory, Michiru appeared before her and began calling her a hero. So as she sat next to her, she offered to watch over the dormitory instead, but Nana began wondering if she was doing the right thing. While she was pretending to sleep, Michiru began asking why she couldn't read her thoughts, and immediately held a box cutter to her throat. She demanded to know what her real power is, so Nana began saying that she could release poisonous fluids from her body. But Michiru was already sick of her recycled lies. Just then, as she noticed Michiru was distracted, Nana managed to seize her hand, causing the box cutter to fall off. But Michiru had expected this, and began saying that Nana must have been trained as a special agent. Just then, two young women appeared outside, causing Michiru to pretend to talk normally and retreat inside. At school the next day, Michiru returns, claiming to have brought Nana a gift, but challenging her to guess its contents, suspecting a trap. The deceiver jokes that her telepathic powers are being interrupted, but Michiru vows to return. Nana sees this as an attempt to expose her fake talent and considers how to deceive her enemies. During lunch, when Kyoya entered the classroom, he observed the students gathering around Nana while Michiru persisted in coaxing Nana into revealing the gift. Fearing exposure, Nana guesses it's a greeting card, but Michiru reveals her bathing suit instead. However, Nana anticipated this and claimed that she could read the kind message in Michiru's mind. At that moment, Kyoya announces that a love letter for Nana has been taped to Michiru's back. All the students pay attention and believe that Nana's mind-reading ability must be real, as they think she read their minds to discover the note. Deciding to follow through, Michiru declares Nana's power to be authentic, but Kyoya ponders who placed the paper on Michiru's back. At sunset, while Nana and Michiru were on the cliff, Nana began asking where he hid the real Michiru. She had noticed that Michiru was hiding her bruises with a tape, and thought she was definitely fake, seeing as the real Michiru could have easily healed the scratch. She thought an enemy must have transformed into her body, and wondered if the real Michiru was still alive. Impressed by her intelligence, the girl decided to reveal that she's actually not Michiru, but that she had taken her form just to discover who Nana really is. At that moment, he revealed his true form, and introduced himself as Jin, saying that he was a former student in the school, but asked to speak with her privately. After arriving inside his cave, he begins saying that he's seeking an ally, and that the zombies Yuka summoned were his old friends that died 5 years ago. When Nana began wondering who he really is, Jin revealed that he was the stray cat whom Kyoya was feeding milk. But in hopes of uncovering her secrets, he resolved to divulge all that transpired 5 years prior. When they were first brought to the island, they noticed their comrades were vanishing, leading them to slay one another in a desperate bid for leadership. Eventually, they split into factions, waging war across the isle. They were deceived into believing themselves enemies of humanity, and even after the authorities forsook them, the faction leaders chose to continue their conflict. When all lay dead, he sought to return home, only to find government agents aiming to end him. Managing to escape, he began observing the island, suspecting that the government sought to eradicate the talent. Suddenly, he began choking, as Nana revealed she had already poisoned him. His soul departed instantly. Proud of her triumph, she intended to report his death to the committee, but Kyoya seized her phone, realizing it held all her secrets. At that moment, Nana realized her predicament, but soon discovered that Jin, having assumed Michiru's form, was alive. As he began to reveal his deliberate slip UPS, he explained that he could use the powers of anything he transformed into, and this ability had allowed him to survive the past war. However, Nana thought he was the real enemy of humanity and realized she couldn't allow him to survive. As Jin wondered who she was trying to call, Nana discovered that her foot had been frozen to the ground, but thought she could still outsmart him. So she told him to transform into her body and use her memories to discover the whole truth. However, As he began reading through her diary, she managed to free her foot from the ice and hurried out of the cave. But as she began running towards the forest, hoping to reveal Jin's identity to the others, she noticed Mugo approaching her with a massive fireball. Before she knew it, he blasted her with the fire, nearly obliterating her worthless body. But when it was over, Jin decided to apologize for nearly roasting her body and revealed that he could hardly control his powers after transforming into another being. He told her that he wishes to know her better and asked about her childhood, promising to spare her life if she reveals the whole truth. With no other choice, Nana began to unveil the shadows of her past, revealing that her parents were slain when she was but a child. She believed the murderer to be a foe of all mankind, and the haunting memory had tormented her ever since. As her strength waned, she drifted towards unconsciousness. Yet, just before darkness claimed her, Jin spoke of the forsaken Talentless, abandoned and untutored. It was only a matter of time before they lost control and their lethal instincts ravaged the island. The following day, Nana awoke within the confines of her dormitory, greeted by Michiru's relief. Bewildered, Nana pondered how she had returned. Michiru recounted finding her body outside the room, surmising Jin had brought her back. Michiru wondered aloud how Nana continued to fight alone. As memories of her childhood surged, Nana declared her fearlessness, realizing she had unintentionally dropped her guard. However, she decided to reveal that her parents were killed by the enemies of humanity and that the memories were haunting her thoughts. Hearing her words, the ugly moron began to cry, apologizing for accidentally triggering her trauma. But Nana knew she was just another useless, ugly loser who would soon be sent to Nirvana. She thought Michiru would equally have her own life and her own. She thought Michiru would equally have her own dark side. After all, she had killed over 150,000 people and decided that she would eliminate her once she discovers that she's just another deranged killer. Right then, she realized she could sell her sob story to gain support in the future. So she began saying that she was responsible for her own parents' murder, having accidentally opened up the window for the enemy. Realizing Michiru had already forgotten about her lapse in character, Nana feigned illness to avoid further conversation. That night, during the funerals, the teacher informed Kyoya that classes would be suspended until the murder was resolved. Kyoya, however, insisted on addressing the higher authorities, eager to express his frustrations. Meanwhile, Nana's buried memories resurfaced, and she noticed Michiru's growing frailty, suspecting her powers were shortening her lifespan. Later, alone in her room and contemplating her next target, Jin appeared, relieved she was alive. Seeking his weakness, Nana questioned why he hadn't transformed into Michiru to heal her wound. Jin revealed that such healing would be fatal to him. This made Nana realize Jin endured harsher limitations when adopting another talented form. Jin then requested more of Nana's childhood tale, offering to return her phone in exchange. At that moment, Nana discovered that Michiru was outside her room, and the useless girl told her that she was afraid of sleeping alone. So, after realizing that Jin had already transformed into a cat, Nana decided to allow her inside. Before long, she figured out that Michiru actually intends to hear the rest of her childhood story, and even the cat was eager to know what happened. So thinking it would eventually be to her advantage, Nana decided to reveal her entire story. When she was a younger kid, she had a rare talent for games and even became a chess master when she was only 4. However, on a particular night, she decided to sneak out the window to the convenience store. But after returning, she fell asleep, forgetting to shut the window. Her parents had always warned her to clean the mess she made with her toys and to always lock her window. Upon the dawn's arrival, she found both had perished, the constabulary revealing the assassin's ingress through the unguarded casement. The weight of culpability haunted her for ages, self-reproaching her constant companion. Yet, as the flood of memories threatened to engulf her, Michiru's reassuring grasp dispelled the turmoil within Nana's heart. The next morning, awakening, she noted Michiru's vigil throughout the night, only for Kyoya to burst in. Disregarding Nana's disfigured visage, he queried Michiru about her overnight stay. Confirming their solidarity, he beckoned them to follow with haste. They soon arrived at the male quarters, where Kyoya unveiled a random chamber. Peering within, they discovered another student's demise, and Nana discerned she was not the sole slayer upon the isle. Just then, Kyoya began saying that he noticed a stab wound on the dead body. But as he decided to ask where Mugo was the previous night, the fatso immediately told him that he was hanging out with the other losers and was giving them a motivational speech about the secrets of plot development. Determined to figure out the truth anyway, Kyoya decided to ask what their talents were. As Mugo thought it was irrelevant and tried to stop him, Nana told him to allow Kyoya to uncover the truth. At that moment, one of the losers decided to mimic Nana's voice, but Kyoya thought he was too weak and useless to be the killer. When it was another loser's turn, the boy decided to kneel on the floor, but as they began wondering if he passed out, they realized that the bathroom was in use. While they were wondering who it was, the boy revealed that he did an astral travel into the bathroom, as he could easily teleport his soul outside his body. When it was time for the last loser to show off, the meathead decided to magnetize a clock with his hand, before revealing that he has the ability to turn his body into a magnet. With Nana growing confused, she began wondering if the victim truly died the previous night. So as Kyoya told her that he did, he revealed that he spotted him during the mass funeral, before he was found dead inside his room. At that moment, his beloved stepped forward, introducing herself as Fuku, for she had discovered his lifeless form first. Kyoya inquired about her presence in his chamber, to which she claimed it was merely a routine. However, Kyoya perceived the falsehood in her words and demanded she reveal her true skill, prompting her to suggest moving outside. Once beyond the dormitory, she confessed her ability to manipulate the atmosphere for her attacks. Unconvinced, Kyoya challenged her to demonstrate her power on him. As the others withdrew, she summoned a fierce gale, launching it at him and slicing his chest as he fell. Fearing for his life, she rushed to his side, but to her astonishment, Kyoya's wound began to mend, and he realized she could have slain Ishii from afar. At that moment, the teacher started running towards them, saying that the higher UPS were on the phone, and Kyoya was glad that he would finally give them a piece of his mind. Later that day, Nana decided to return to the crime scene, hoping to find clues for the murder, and soon noticed moths under the bed. She thought it was suspicious, but soon discovered that Michiru had been mysteriously quiet all through the day, so as they had lunch, she began wondering if Michiru was starting to suspect her for the past murders. Just then, Michiru began asking a bunch of questions about her future, and wondered if she would move in with her family once they leave the island. However, Nana thought she was trying to lure her into a trap, so she slammed her bowl and told her to stop talking about her family inside her room. As Nana began wondering if Michiru was trying to get her to reveal her secrets, the teacher arrived to give her a new uniform, saying that Michiru reported her old one was ripped up. As Nana accepted it, she realized that Michiru must have found the poison bottle in her old uniform and thought she must have noticed it after changing her clothes. Just as she began thinking that Michiru must have handed it over to Kyoya, L, with good posture, appeared at that moment, wondering if she had a fight with Michiru. He had noticed she was sad and was trying to make conversation, but she eventually refused to reveal anything. Yet, his intent was to interrogate Fukao, so he instructed Nana to follow. As he attempted to depart, the teacher informed him that the request to the higher UPS had been successful, and a representative from headquarters would be arriving. Upon hearing this, Nana pondered how he managed to persuade the committee to visit the island, but she resolved to eliminate as many students as possible before the island plunged into chaos. Inside Fukao's chamber, Kyoya inquired about her whereabouts since the funerals, to which she replied that a friend had come over and spent the night. Convinced he'd heard enough, Kyoya began to leave. But as they walked down the corridor, he asked Nana if she believed Fukao's story using her mind-reading ability. Hoping not to falter, Nana feigned ignorance, but claimed she thought Fukao was innocent, reasoning that after the funerals, Mugo had given a 5-hour pep talk to the 3 losers, and Nana believed they would have heard Ishii's screams when the murderer attacked him. Due to this, She thought Ishii was killed after Mugo was done with his useless pep talk, and with Fukao having revealed that she spent the entire night in the company of her friend, Nana thought it was definitely someone else. However, Kyoya wasn't convinced and began saying that Ishii must have surely been killed during Mugo's pep talk. He had noticed the moths under his bed and thought they were lured in by the light. However, since Ishii was known for going to bed early, Kyoya thought he must have been isekai right before he slept, as he was convinced that he would have definitely turned the lights off before sleeping. When Nana wondered if the killer could have sneaked in through the window while Ishii was asleep, Kyoya told her it was impossible, because the killer could not have possibly turned on the lights to draw attention. Moreover, Ishii's talent was to shrink himself, and Kyoya thought he could have easily hidden somewhere he wouldn't be seen. For all he was concerned, Fukao and Ishii must have gotten in a fight, and after managing to poison his drink, Kyoya thought she must have slashed his throat before escaping. That night, as Nana ventured to Michiru's quarters, she noticed Michiru was in the shower and decided to search her room for clues. Stumbling upon Michiru's diary, she began to read it. To her surprise, every entry was about her, portraying Nana as the bravest soul Michiru had ever known, recounting every moment they shared. Michiru's mysterious silence stemmed from her quest to buy Nana a gift, hoping it would soothe the sorrow of losing her parents. Just then, Jin appeared with poison in hand, revealing that Michiru had always been a true friend. Stunned by this revelation, Nana questioned why Jin was sharing this truth. He explained that he intended to track down the committee that molded her into a killer. Jin then announced his departure from the island and warned her to check on Michiru in the shower. At that instant, Nana realized she had been inside for too long, and as she decided to check on her, she discovered that Michiru was unconscious. Realizing she's still breathing, she decided to pull her out of the water, afraid that her plans would be ruined once Michiru was dead. As she laid inside her room, Nana discovered that she had a high fever, but as she began coughing, she realized that she was extremely dehydrated and thought she wouldn't survive until the morning if she wasn't treated immediately. So that same night, she decided to visit the teacher and demanded for a doctor that would treat Michiru, but he told her that the doctor had left the island, as Nana noticed that the other teachers were missing. He told her that they had already gone to the teacher's faculty because they were scared for their lives. With no other choice, Nana resolved to seek Kyoya's aid. However, he was preoccupied, examining Ishii's corpse to determine the time of death. Pressed for time, Nana opted to request medications instead. Upon obtaining them, she sprinted towards the cafeteria, intent on procuring sustenance for Michiru. Arriving, she found the door locked but shattered the glass with a stone. As she reached to unlock it from within, a nick on her finger reminded her to be cautious. Returning to the dormitory, Nana began efforts to lower Michiru's fever, only for Kyoya to arrive and examine her. By the time he finished, he noted the disarray in Michiru's room, suspecting Nana had rummaged through the drawers. The next day, as Kyoya decided to search one of the boys' rooms, Yuji began telling him that he found dead rabbits near the school bushes and that they were killed the same way Ishii was murdered. He thought the killer could be responsible, but Kyoya wondered how the loser managed to listen to Mugo's moronic speech for 5 hours. In Michiru's room, Nana realized that her fever was going down and was glad that the girl would survive after all. At that moment, Fuku entered the room and began asking if Michiru's wound was starting to heal. But Nana thought she was suspicious, seeing as she never told her that Michiru was sick. Even so, Fuku wouldn't give up and offered to watch over Michiru in the meantime, suggesting that Nana get some rest. But Nana told her that her ugly blind face deserves to be laid to eternal rest. Realizing her words were as useless as her face, Fuku decided to leave. But Nana began wondering if Michiru was a witness to Ishii's murder, and thought Fuku was seeking the right opportunity to silence her forever. Upon awakening the following day, Michiru revealed she had fallen ill after healing a wounded cat. Relieved her friend survived, Nana insisted she remain in bed and offered to make her tea. However, when Michiru noticed Nana's nicked finger and tried to lick it, Nana instinctively recoiled, knocking over the kettle. Fearing for Michiru's worsening health, Nana implored her to prioritize her own well-being. Meanwhile, in the forest, Jin discovered a dead rabbit and confronted a mysterious shadow about the animal killings. This same culprit had slain the stray cat Michiru had healed. Frustrated, Jin warned him to stay away from the forest. Back at the dormitory, Kyoya encountered Rentaru and inquired about Ishii. Rentaru initially praised Ishii's smooth charm, but then grew somber, revealing his hidden sorrow to Kyoya. In Michiru's room, as they began having lunch, Nana realized she was losing time and thought she could easily kill Fuku and persuade everyone into thinking that she isekai'd herself, looking to utilize the rest of her time. She tried to leave, but Michiru asked her to stay, saying that she was afraid of staying alone. However, Nana thought she would be considered a failure once the committee got involved and decided to leave anyway. As she was heading to her room, she thought her master would hate her for developing a bond with a talent and thought she must kill everyone as soon as she could. However, she eventually returned to Michiru's room and decided to ask her why she tried to heal the useless girls who bullied and teased her with the fake love letter. So Michiru told her that everyone deserves to be saved and said that she was willing to show everyone kindness. At that moment, Nana recalled a name, Hidamai, from her diary and resolved to inquire about her, pretending she had read it in her mind. Michiru, deceived by this harmless ruse, confessed that Hidami had once saved her life and chose to share the tale. In her younger days, Michiru faced bullying at school for healing her crush and was cast out like a pariah. Yet, after she healed a wounded puppy, a new girl emerged, thanking her for saving her dog. This girl was Hidamai, who became Michiru's guardian angel, vowing to confront any tormentors. As time went on, they shared lunches and spent time together after school. However, when Hidamai mysteriously disappeared, Michiru felt abandoned. It was only when Michiru collapsed at a hospital and Hidami visited her that the truth emerged. Hidami had been battling cancer. While at school, she had pretended to be fine, but had decided to quit after her health grew worse. The revelation made Michiru sad, but after a few weeks, she discovered that Hidamai had passed away and felt useless for being unable to heal her. This was the reason she always wanted to heal everyone, and she was willing to sacrifice her own life for others. At that moment, Nana was completely speechless, but as Michiru wondered if she got possessed by a ghost, she decided to leave immediately. However, once she was outside her room, she broke down on her knees, realizing that Michiru was a kind, innocent soul, and wondered how it was possible that she killed 150,000 people. Inside her room, Nana's old memories began to return, and she remembered that everyone had blamed her for the death of her parents. Just then, Michiru entered and began telling her to search through her memories. She was convinced that Nana wasn't the cause of her parents' death, and told her to try and remember exactly what happened on the day she found them dead. In that instant, Nana remembered she hadn't tripped that morning. Michiru then explained that her parents had cleaned her room before she woke up and had even locked the window, as they always reminded her to do. At that moment, Nana realized she wasn't to blame for her parents' deaths. Yet, as she tried to take the blame, Michiru hugged her tightly. Nana then understood that Michiru had been worried about her all these past few days and was deeply thoughtful in proving Nana's innocence. When Michiru mentioned her intention to buy a gift for Nana, she began to doubt if she truly deserved such friendship. The following day, as they shopped for gifts, Nana spotted a beautiful pen and pondered if it would make a lovely present. But then Kyoya appeared behind her, stating that he needed her help to capture the killer. He believed it was only a matter of time before the psycho sought out a new victim, and feared it could be any one of them. At sunset, Nana and Michiru started returning to the dormitory. But as Nana decided to give her the pen, Michiru told her that she also bought her a gift. So as Nana slept that night, she cuddled the gift and was excited about her new friendship. But Jin appeared at her window when Nana wondered why he returned to the island. He began telling her that Michiru is in danger, having been lured towards the sea by the killer. Realizing her first real friend was about to die, Nana hurried out immediately. But after arriving outside, She realized that she was better off asking for Kyoya's support. Meanwhile, in the forest, an invisible hand sliced Michiru across the face. But when she wondered who it was, the invisible man told her that he came to kill her. At the same time, Nana was running towards the sea, but as her master called her at that moment, asking about whom she intends to kill next, Nana realized she was screwed. However, she managed to pretend that she was on the hunt for another victim. And after the call was over, she began thinking that she should abandon Michiru. Since she was another talent, she needed to kill eventually anyway. In the shadow depths of the forest, Michiru fled for her life, driven toward an old, foreboding cottage. Desperate, she clung to the hope that Nana would come to her rescue. But the invisible man, ever skeptical of Nana's deceitful ways, was convinced otherwise and resolved to end Michiru's life. As the killer brandished his knife, Nana recognized him as Rentaru, realizing he must have slipped from his mortal coil when he murdered Ishii in a similar fashion. Just as Rentaru advanced, Nana shielded Michiru once more, urging her to flee while she created a diversion. In the ensuing struggle, Nana grasped the blade, though it plunged into her shoulder. Undeterred, she held it with all her might, shouting at Michiru to escape. When Michiru hesitated, Nana berated her, declaring she never considered Michiru a friend, merely a useful pawn, and had always despised her. Stricken by these harsh words, Michiru wept and sprinted into the forest's embrace. However, Nana was glad to have successfully made her run away. But as Rentaru decided to kill her, he felt his physical body was being strangled, and Nana was glad that Kyoya eventually found his body. At the same time, Kyoya was squeezing the life out of him, and as his soul returned into his body, he shoved him to the floor. Kyoya began telling him that he searched the entire school for his body, as he remembered that Nana had actually revealed everything, even suggesting he finds his body. And after he noticed that she was really worried about Michiru's safety, he had agreed with her plan, but wondered if he would ever uncover Nana's own crimes. At the cabin, Nana laid unconscious on the ground, having been brutally wounded by Rentaru's knife, and as she realized that her soul was about to leave her body, all her previous murders began flashing across her mind. She thought she deserved to die, and was glad that she would be reunited with her parents' souls. However, as she grew sad that she would lose her newfound friendship, she realized that Michiru had returned to her side, and was sad to see her slipping away. By some miracle, Nana recovered and found herself standing on the shore, the salty breeze, a complete contrast to the chaos she had endured. As she observed her surroundings, a deep feeling of gratitude overwhelmed her, mixed with confusion about her sudden resurrection. Nana walks through the forest, her heart heavy with fear. When she arrived at the place where she last saw her friend, Nana's worst fears came true. Michiru lies motionless, sacrificing herself so that Nana can continue to live. The weight of this realization crushed her spirit, and memories of their time together began to surface in her mind. Every shared laugh, every moment of support, all the quiet together. These memories now seem like the ghostly remnants of a bond severed too soon. As Nana knelt next to Michiru's body, tears streamed down her face. Overwhelmed with grief and guilt, she cried out in pain, her voice breaking the silence of the forest. "Arnott!" she screamed, the words tearing at her soul, echoing her despair and helplessness. Her cries echoed in the air, a poignant tribute to her deceased friend. Lost in her grief, Nana's sobs became her only companion in the silence that followed. Michiru's great sacrifice and their lost deep friendship weigh heavily on her, making her cries the only expression of her profound loss. Today's movie ends here. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to watch the next movies.